Hello everyone, hope you're all safe and well. Welcome to this program, Read Your Bible Through in a Year, and we are on day 25. Today, in the book of Exodus, we will be reading chapters 12 and 13, and in the New Testament, from the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 16. If you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, as always, I would say please subscribe and make sure that you share this link to your friends and family so they will be blessed as well. And there's a bell icon. Please don't forget to click on that so you will get your notifications and a reminder. If you have if you have skipped yesterday's teaching, please don't worry. There's a link on the right hand top corner of your YouTube screen, and you will be able to go back and listen to my teachings about the previous days. Okay, let's go today straight to day 25, chapters 12 and 13. So now the plague of the firstborn was where we left in chapter 11, and here Pharaoh let them go. And here in chapter 12 we read very descriptive way how the Passover should be celebrated. God instructs Moses through Moses how this Passover has to be celebrated, and now the people said, okay, please go, please leave, otherwise we will die. That's what we read in chapter 12. Pharaoh lets them go, and as if you read chapter 12 verses 33, the Egyptians urged the people to hurry and leave the country, for otherwise they said, we will die. So the people took their dove before the yeast was added and carried it on their shoulder in kneading troughs, wrapping in cloth. So the yeast should not be added. That is one of the regulations of the Passover. So God wanted them to obey these instructions, how to celebrate this Passover. Now, in chapter 12:35, we read that the Israelites plundered Egyptians. This is to fulfill according to what we read in Genesis chapter 15:14. So you can go back and read Genesis chapter 15 verse 14. So how the Lord says that when you come back you will plunder Egypt, when he's prophesying when he foretells Abraham about Israelite being in Egypt as slaves. So when they come back, when the deliverance takes place, they will plunder Egypt. So now I just written in notes here, it was customary to give gifts at a parting of a friend or the departure of a servant, probably in the state of panic following the Passover. Now the Egyptians were willing to give Israelites that their fourth generation of slavery, they were ready to give whatever they asked for, so gold, silver or whatever, so that they can just run away, just go away. Here's gold, silver, we don't want you here, otherwise God is going to kill everyone. So that is how they live. And there is it says in chapter 12 verses 37, the Israelite journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth. There were about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. Many other people went up with them. So it's not only 600,000 men, there were also women, there were children, there were other people, because remember the Egyptians also had other people, slaves. When they went to Goshen during Jacob's period, they did have lots of slaves and people working for them. So they say based on this figure, women and children and other people, it will be around at least 2 million people who left Egypt. So now they leave Egypt, and also we read about the Passover restrictions. That's what we read about in chapter 12. In chapter 13, God has destroyed the firstborn, so the consecration of the firstborn. So every firstborn animal, man and animal, belongs to God, because in order to deliver Israelite, God destroyed the firstborn of all the Egyptians. So every one of the Israelite, man or animal, belongs to the Lord. So in order to redeem them, they have to celebrate this Passover. And if you read the verses 14 in chapter 13, in days to come, when your sons ask, why are you redeeming? I mean, why are you doing this? Then you should say, what does this mean? So what does that redeeming the firstborn means? You'll be reading in Deuteronomy and Leviticus in future what exactly this redemption means. So this is just I don't want to give a detailed explanation about this. So here it says, the Lord, okay, what does this mean? Says the Lord. I'm reading chapter 13 verses 14. Okay, in days to come, when your son asks you, what does this mean? Say to him, with a mighty hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, the Lord killed every firstborn in Egypt, both man and animal. This is why I sacrifice to the Lord the first male offspring, every womb, and redeem each of my firstborn sons. So this is a very interesting one. So when we are reading the Deuteronomy and Leviticus, we will read in detail about redeeming and what are the procedures, etc. And also, I just forgot to tell you one important thing. In chapter 12, verses 46, it says here, it must be eaten inside the house. Take none of the meat outside the house. Do not break any of the bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate it. So don't break the bones of the Passover lamb. So this is more or less like foretold about Jesus on the cross. As we all know, Paul refers Christ as the Passover lamb. In 1 Corinthians chapter 5:7, he refers Jesus as a Passover lamb. On the cross, none of his bones shall be broken. So both the thieves on either sides, their bones were broken, so they might die quickly. When the soldiers went to Jesus, they found he was already dead, so they didn't break his bones. So this is more or less a sign or a foretelling of none of the bones of Jesus would be broken. So Jesus is referred to as Passover lamb. So here's what it just says. I just wrote notes there. It's just my reflection. So 12 and 13, that is what we read about the Passover and redeeming of the firstborn. Then coming to the New Testament, today we are reading chapter 16, the whole of chapter 16 here. Again, the Jews, the Pharisees and the Sadducees come to Jesus and tested him by asking to show them sign from heaven. So they don't believe anything unless I see them. So Jesus tries to tell them about his signs, and again Jesus warns his disciples about these Pharisees and Sadducees, because what he refers by yeast is these people, when you talk to them, he says when you add the yeast to a flour, then the whole flour becomes yeast. Like when you want to bake a cake or bread or something, to the whole flour you just add a little bit of yeast, then the whole taste changes. Exactly, that's what he's warning them about, Sadducees and Pharisees. But of course the disciples don't understand. They think he's talking about the bread, etc. So he's talking about these people, even though they are very little in numbers, when you listen to them, they might change you. So that's what he's warning about. And also here, we read about Peter's confession of Christ, that they are meeting in Caesarea Philippi, and Jesus asks, who do the people say I am? And Peter they all say different things, but Jesus asks him, who do you say I am? And Peter says, you are the Son of the living God. And he says, you didn't get this. On this rock I build the church, because it's my Father who revealed it to you. So he says, and I tell you that you are Peter. On this rock I will build my on my church. Now, Simon Peter, he in other Gospels we say has Cephas. Cephas means rock, Peter. Okay, so that's what he says. Simon Peter answered, "You are the Christ, the living God." Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but by my Father. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome." So he foretells about Peter. But again, if you continue reading, Jesus predicts his death. But here, the Peter who confessed Jesus as a son of the living God, when Jesus told everyone that he's going to die, Peter takes Jesus aside and tells him, no, I will not let you die. And he gets it nicely from Jesus. Jesus rebuked him and say, "Get behind me, Satan." So you can see the wavering mind of Peter. At one stage he says, "You are the son of the living God." And next time he says, Peter took him aside. And verses 22, chapter 16, Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 16, verses 22. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. "Never, Lord," he said, "this shall never happen." Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me." So here, that's what we read in chapter 16. So that is for today. We read about the Passover. Now, the Israelite has left the Egypt, and the things are getting more interesting as we go. So that's it for today, and I will see you tomorrow with day 27. That's interesting. We are almost towards the end of 31-day reading, and obviously towards the end of Exodus, halfway through to reading the Exodus. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this link. Stay blessed. Thank you and goodbye.